I have a lot of like background emotions. Okay, anger, so not specific to a desire or not desire.
You can call them background if you want, but if you're feeling them now. And so they are a right now in the moment meter that is giving you feedback about the relationship between right now thought and right now source's thought. The thought that source has about what you're thinking about right now, and your vibration about what you're thinking about right now. Right now, right now, right now. Not background, current. Not before, now. Not irrelevant, relevant.
So subject to subject, person to person. If it gets triggered, it's almost like an addiction. It's like I get an angry response, and it's like, why did I do that?
Well, there's a little momentum with that. Sometimes you're sort of on the edge of that. You've been sort of boiling there for a little while. In other words, that's where you are. Remember, law of attraction is making whatever is more. And so there you are, and there's a little more, and there you are, and there's a little more. And there's always that tipping point of where the vibration gets strong enough that now fists are flying. We're exaggerating slightly.
Right. All right. So, okay. So like when I'm feeling that, do I just think of something happy? I mean, I don't know how to combat
when you're
that.
feeling that, that's sort of like the story that we like to tell is about San Francisco streets. Esther remembers the first time she came to one of those hills. So we say, park your car on the top of the hill, take the car out of gear, put it in neutral, take the parking brake off, and then just nudge it a little from behind and watch what happens. Well, if you come to your senses right away, you can step out in front of it and stop it. But if you're at the bottom of the hill trying to stop it, you're in trouble. And your emotions are the same way. Any momentum is the same way. If you can catch it early, you can stop it by thinking another thought. But often, if you haven't yet decided that your emotions really matter, and you haven't yet decided that you care about how you feel, and you're not yet quite determined that you're going to have closure on things that are going in a direction that you don't want them to go, then chances are, sure thing, you're going to get momentum going, and then the momentum must have its way with you. You just can't stop that momentum. And so usually it's better to just laugh about it if you can and say, oh, this is just going to have to play out. Have you ever known anyone who had a bad temper and you see it coming and you know it's coming and there's not much you're going to do about it, and you can't lay low because they'll come and find you? And so it just sort of has to explode and happen, and then it'll pass.
I see that with myself. I know it's coming. It's like, dude, stop. I mean.
So what you want to do, you want to know it's coming before you know it's coming. You want to sense it coming. You want to catch it at the earlier subtle stages. And so you want to be proactive, not reactive. If the momentum is already going and now you're trying to react to your momentum by stopping it, you're just going to add fuel to the fire. It makes you feel defensive. It makes you feel justified. It makes you want to blame others about it. So you want to catch it earlier. What we mean by that is when you sleep at night and you withdraw your consciousness from this time-space reality, your momentum absolutely subsides. So you give your point of attraction a rest. So when you put yourself in your bed, say to yourself, while I'm asleep, my momentum is going to subside, and in the morning, I can start it wherever I want to. Well, in the first day, you're not going to start it much differently than where it was before because there's that residual stuff that's happening. But with enough mornings of recognizing that this is a new day and that I want to feel good, and this is a new day and I want to feel good. When Esther started playing this game at first, she didn't even make it to breakfast before she was off on some thought that took her where she did not want to go. But after a while, you gain control of your thoughts and emotions by catching it early in the day. And that's not to say that something, you want to live in the real world, you want to be out there where things are going on. We don't want you to need to hide yourself away from anything that could potentially happen. But that's what we are calling this step 5 living. In other words, so step 1 is you're asking, and step 2 is source is answering, and step 3 is you get in the receptive mode, and step 4 is you get really good at it so that you're consistently there, and then step 5 is you stop beating up on yourself for negative emotion. You see it as a tool. You see it as something that is helpful. You stay removed from the judgment about it. You can see things that you don't want without going into a negative emotion place. That's what we mean to say. Step 5 is you don't have negative emotion when you're looking at unwanted things, because you understand it puts it in perspective. It sort of makes everything relative. It's like nothing is that big a deal. Nothing is worth losing your connection over. Esther sort of stumbled across this when she began writing with Jerry, who is non-physically focused now. So often, several days a week, she will sit and just talk to him about the state of affairs, about what's going on with the houses, or what's going on with the grandchildren, or what's going on. And she knows he knows. She knows that she doesn't need to explain it to him, but she likes to have these conversations with him. And what she noticed right away is that she can hear him very clearly. She can feel the fullness of him. She can feel the power of his words, and she can feel his personality coming forth within it. She can feel his humor and attention. But what she began to notice is that not one time ever did he sympathize or empathize with any problem that she was having. He somehow has the ability now to look right at the same problem that she's looking at in an emotionally detached state. Because the problem is like a choice. It's like something not to be chosen, but it's not something to be pushed against. Hear that distinction. Non-physical looks at what you call problems as choices not to be chosen, but not as issues to be pushed against. That's the greatest distinction. That's what you figure out when you're doing what we are now calling, someone begged us to do it and we went along and we think it's a good idea, into step 5, is that when you consistently know how you want to feel and are pretty good at staying there, and now not only do you not freak out when you see something that you don't want, you embrace it, you accept it as an important step 1 experience, because problems are what create solutions. And without that, there is no expansion. And when you are eternal, like you are and like we are, that matters a lot. You want something that promotes the eternalness of the universe, don't you? But you want everything that you don't want to take you to your knees. We see you, you say, oh, I want to be a deliberate creator. I think I want to be a deliberate creator. Ooh, I get what I think about. Ooh, I don't know. I don't want to be a deliberate creator. Cancel. Try to suck it back before law of attraction gets hold of it. We don't want you to feel like you have to suck anything back. Just let it be what it is and adjust yourself to it. It's all right to look at something that you do not want. We don't want you to do focus wheels until you enjoy eating worms. It's all right not to want to eat worms. It's all right to choose what you want to eat instead of that. It's all right. Just don't condemn the worms, and don't condemn those who like to eat them.
Well, like if it's someone,
Large parts of the population do.
So if a behavior someone's doing, a business partner, a spouse, a sibling, so you don't want to enable it by letting it go, but just to keep the emotion out of it and act
tell us
appropriately.
about this enabling thing.
Well, so if someone does something that's like they're being mean to me again for no reason, they're cheating, on me, business-wise, or something. So that's not right. But so I get angry about it. So okay, I don't want the anger, but I can't just let that go, right? It's like that's not appropriate behavior. You shouldn't do that. So sometimes I think I don't want to stick my head in the sand by not being angry.
But here's the tricky thing. We agree with you that when you have these agreements, that it's a wonderful thing when people honor the agreements that they have with each other. And we see why you want to call that right and the opposite of that wrong. But when your alignment, therefore your happiness, depends upon what somebody else does or your ability to control what they do, now you're in trouble, because everyone has different intentions, everyone has different viewpoints about what is right and wrong, everyone is selfishly oriented. You spend so much time hopelessly trying to get someone else to be some way that you think they need to be in order for you to feel better, when all along you have the capacity to line up with Source and stand as Source does, not choosing that, but not pushing against it either. Can you feel the distinction? Because when you push against it, you are choosing it. That's the thing that is so confounding to humans. You think that you're only choosing those things that you're saying yes to, but you're choosing anything that you give your attention to, especially if you give a lot of attention to it. And so somebody can cheat you and you didn't see it coming because you weren't sensitive to the emotion early on, and then you start becoming guarded, and then more and more people that are like that come into your experience because law of attraction says, well, there's a good match, well, there's a good match, well, there's a good match. So you don't want to be a match to a cheater. Well, how do you not be a match to a cheater? Focus upon those who do what they say they're going to do. Focus upon those who fulfill their agreements with you. Praise what you want rather than condemn what you don't want. And that's the way you clean up your vibration and get more of what you are wanting. So now let's say you've been doing that, but there's some of everything out there in the world, and you're an active person, and you're out there having a lot of exposure to a lot of experiences. So even though you're doing very well and things are going for the most part very well, somebody comes into your experience, a sort of rascal, and they do something that is inappropriate. But now you've been practicing alignment, and so instead of it making you furious, it gets your attention and you don't like it, but it's not a strong negative emotion because you don't feel vulnerable to it, because you've found your power, because you've shown yourself that those kind of people don't stick in your experience very long. You know what keeps unwanted people sticking in your experience for long periods of time? Your attention to them. And usually the thing that is at the heart of that is that those like you who are leaders, who are teachers, who are uplifters, and this is why we were asking you for more information about the word enable that you offered. You want to help others to succeed. When you're strong, it sort of becomes your way of life to help those who are not as strong. Now that's what we would call enabling if we were using the word in the way you mean to use it, where you're trying to compensate in some way to be their path of least resistance. And so instead of calling them on it, you just let it slide. Or instead of making a big thing about it, you just compensate for it in some way. It's one thing if you compensate in some way and it doesn't bother you. But it's another thing if you compensate and it bothers you, because now you're splitting your energy over it, and that is a big distinction. You see what we're getting at? And so the reason that we want you each to understand that you're the only one who throws resistance on your trail. When we talk about the path of least resistance, let's start again. Source is calling you, just like that mother bird. Source is calling you, calling you, calling you. Calling you from where you are to where you want to be. Calling you from where you are. From where you are with whatever level of resistance you've got strewn across your path. Get a picture of that. So you're being called from where you are, because you can't be being called from where you're not, right? You have to be called from where you are. So between where you are and where you want to be, there's always clutter on your path. Who put it there? You did. Every piece of it, you put it there. Not the guy you're mad at. He didn't put it there. You put it there. Now, you might have thrown it down when you were mad at him, but you put it there. You put it there, and that's why you want to blame him. You got to stop being this way because you keep making me throw crap on my path. And then it's in my way. Then when my mother bird calls me, I can't go because there's all this stuff in my way that wouldn't be there if you'd been better. Well, you can't train the world. You can't get the world to behave in a way. That's why we talk about being unconditional. And unconditional means you know the laws of the universe. You know that you're going to get to where you want to be. You know that you're being called. And here's the thing. You know that path of most allowing, or that path of least resistance? I'm going to say something in a way that you have not heard before. I'm just going to take time here to say it because we really want you to get this. Your journey is more fun because there's resistance on your path. It just is. It's more fun. You don't really want a straight, swift line to the things you want. You think you do. You think you do, but it's so much more interesting to figure it out as you go, to solve the resistance, to be hands-on creator, to be molding the clay, to get better and better at this, to see the results that you get. Think about it. If you were mentoring your child, Esther remembers cooking an early Thanksgiving dinner with Tracy, who was about 14 at the time. And she wasn't chopping fast enough, and she wasn't putting the butter in the butter molds fast enough, and she wasn't wiping the silverware fast enough. And Esther just kept coming up behind her and doing a little bit of whatever it was she was doing to try to hurry it along. And finally, Tracy just put the knife down and looked at her mother and said, "I'm going away." She went into another room. It was no fun to play with her mother. She couldn't get it right. Everything that she was trying to do, she couldn't be fast enough. Ooh. What an important thing for Esther to realize. In other words, she wasn't giving her an opportunity to succeed. She wasn't giving her an opportunity. The universe is giving you all of the opportunities to find your way, to get better at this and to get better at this and to get better at this, to satisfy yourself, to show yourself, to feel the self-satisfaction of figuring that out and doing it a little differently, because the universe will respond to whatever you've figured out. Say it again. The universe is responding to whatever you've figured out. So the universe is giving you this constant, wonderful mentoring feedback about where you are in relationship to everything you want, with no judgment whatsoever.